Welcome everybody to the Keep Your Lights On evening session. We're going to talk through free ways to save on your utility bill and some other financial assistance. Um, are you behind on your bills? We're kind of encouraging folks to take these 3 steps. Of course, they're going to be more complicated than that, but these are sort of the one, two, threes of things. First and foremost, we encourage you to call your utility company. I know that that can be tough sometimes, because and a little bit scary, but it is the very best first step. You want to tell them sort of what's going on, why you might have fallen behind. Is this sort of a one-time thing or is it an ongoing issue? Are you currently unemployed? Did a new person move into your home and you're helping to take care of them? There's lots of things. And the first step, like I say, is to give a call to your utility company and let them know. Also, let them know that you're going to be applying actively to organizations that might help pay your bill. And we're going to talk through some of that tonight. Make a payment arrangement if you can and if you're interested, and it's possible to do. And I say all of those qualifiers because when you enter into a payment arrangement, the utility, if you break it, doesn't have to give you another payment arrangement for 18 months. So when they're offering, next month pay an extra $100 or whatever it might be, if you don't think you can afford that, I would think twice about entering it because if you default, then all that money will become due and they don't have to offer you another payment plan. Now, you can ask for an extension if you have a turn-off notice. Many of the utilities will give you about I think it's a 7-day extension when you ask. So that's always an option to ask. And then make sure to tell them about any medical issues that might be in the house. Now, the reason we want to do that is because if there is a medical issue in the home, you might qualify for what's known as a medical certification form. Now, that form is something that you and your healthcare professional, and that's your doctor, your nurse practitioner, or a physician's assistant, fills out. And what it says basically, these two main things. One, that the loss of gas or electric would aggravate an existing serious illness or prevent the use of life support. And two, that it's okay to release your information to any local, state, or federal government emergency responder in the event of a weather related emergency. Now, back to one. What is a serious illness? Well, that's really not for me to decide. That's between you and your healthcare professional. And you don't have to write it on the medical form. When I follow up with you, you're going to receive a copy of that medical form. But that serious illness could be maybe there's a newborn in the home. Maybe there's someone who is a senior and particularly vulnerable. Maybe somebody recently had a very serious surgery. There could be a number of different things, but really it's up to you and your healthcare professional to determine if the loss of gas or electric would aggravate that serious illness or prevent the use of life support. So why have it? Why get a medical certification form? What does it do? Well, if there were a turnoff notice, it extends that date by 30 days. So if you were to, I'm going to use BGE because I live in Baltimore. If I were to call BGE and I had a turnoff notice in my hand, it would actually put a 30-day extension on that. So they give you an extra 30 days. And in that 30 days, what you're doing is you're trying to get that form filled out and get it back into your utility. They're also going to want you to make a payment arrangement within those 30 days to make sure, this isn't just you turn it in and not have to worry about it anymore, but that you're working towards paying down that bill. Now, in addition, to kind of extending your turnoff notice, there are some extra protections in place around non-payment and terminations. So a termination cannot happen if this is on file with your utility until two personal attempts are made, either in person or telephone. Like I said, this is not a blanket. You will not be shut off, but it is good for them to know what's going on in your household. And then also, as I mentioned before, they'll release your information to emergency responders in the event of a weather related event. So, this is what a medical certification on file with the utility does. I want to be clear about what it does not do. It does not keep you on indefinitely without payment, and it does not restore your power sooner if you are off when you turn it on. Okay, so step one, call your utility, have that discussion. We gave kind of a list of bullet points of what to talk about. Those are the best bets. Two, apply to OHEP, Office of Home Energy Programs, Energy Assistance, MEEP. It's got a lot of names, but it all falls under OHEP, and that's what we'll be talking about. It is an income eligibility based system, and you apply to this program once per fiscal year. So that's July 1 to June 30th. And they'll take a look at your usage and who's in the home and income. And then they'll give you a grant, and that gets paid directly to your utility. These are actually brand new income guidelines, I think since October. And so it's a little confusing because you're like, why is there two columns? Well, actually, when you apply to OHEP, you fill out one application, which we're going to take a peek at, but there's four grants you're actually applying for. And we'll, like I said, I'll kind of point them out when we look at it. But what I want to look at here is if you are falling under this MEP GARA column, if you are hitting these income guidelines, and you are interested in applying, I would encourage you to apply. Now, you do not need a turn-off notice to do this. You could just be income eligible and apply for assistance. And these income guidelines are going to be based on the past 30 days, and it's going to be your gross income. That's going to be before taxes. So the OHIP application itself, seemingly simple, always the devil's in the details, but it's 2 pages front and back. It's going to ask basic household information, who lives here, what's your address, what's your account number. It's going to ask about landlord information if it's included in the rent. So it is okay for you to apply if your name is not on the bill. They do work with you. It's going to ask your income information because it is an income-based program. It's going to ask you what grants you want to apply for, and then it's going to ask if you want to sign up for free energy efficiency services. It's in addition to the 2 page application, you're also going to need to turn in some documents. So this is the OHEP application, which I'm also going to send to you. These are the grants. So we have 4 of them here: the EUSP and ARA. And I'm going to scroll back, see EUSP and ARA. And then there's MEP and GARA. So let's look at that. So then we got down here MEP and then GARA. So those are the 4 grants that you're looking at here. Now, what I would do, I would just check this box at the top. This says, please screen me for all eligible grants. If you only check maybe this one because you're like, oh, I'm not really sure what I qualify for, they can't check the boxes for you. So you have to check the boxes that you want to be screened for. So if I was you, I would just err on the safe side. I would check box 5, and it's just going to screen you for everything. Now, in the past, if anyone's familiar with this program, when you signed up, you typically had to sign up for budget billing. That is no longer a requirement, so you don't have to enroll in budget billing if you don't want to. And you can do that while participating in this program. So if I was you, check this box at the top. Now, in addition to that, you still need to fill out your electric company and your account number, your heating company and your account number, and that can be the same company. Like I said, I'm a BGE customer, so I would be putting BGE in both places. And again, the bill does not have to be in your name, and no turn off notice is needed. Now, these are the documents you're going to need. I'm going to read through these, but when I email out to you, I'm also going to include a much longer list of documents. So in case you don't have one of these, there's a bunch of substitutions that you could use. So you want the ID of the person whose name is on the application and account, if possible. So your name doesn't have to be on the account. Social Security cards for everybody in the house. Your last utility bill. Now, the address on the utility bill has to match your ID, but if not, that's okay. But you're going to need something else. You're going to need your lease, an official bill like a Verizon or a bank statement, something that else, kind of has your address. We need to make sure we have our utility account number, and then proof of income for the past 30 days for everyone 18 and older in the household. And they do mean 18 and older, so make sure to include that. And the past 30 days is actually based off the date that you sign at the end. So at the very last page of that 2-page application, you're going to sign your name and date it. They're going to look at that date, and that's the 30-day date. So make sure that they align. And then the application. So these are the documents you'll need in order to apply for OHEP. Now, some really cool news just came out. It just started in January. And it might not apply to everybody, but it's still worth saying. Starting this month, if you have signed up or renewed your SNAP, TCA, or SSI, you're going to be automatically enrolled into OHEP. So you actually won't have to apply. If you just, starting January 1, signed up for or renewed your SNAP or food stamps, TCA, or SSI, you'll just automatically be enrolled. So where do you apply? You can email or drop it off. That's my personal favorite way to do it. This link, when you get it, is going to take you to a list of all the addresses because there's at least one location in every county. I want to say there's 5 in Baltimore City, but there's at least one location in every county. And then there's also an email address for every office. So you'll have this clickable link when you get my email. Now, what happens after you drop it off? Well, I would check my status at this website here. MyOHEPstatus.org asks you to enter in the last 4 of your social, your last name, and your date of birth, or the person whose name was on the application. And then it'll give you an update. It'll say, we're missing a document, or your grants were approved, or hopefully not, but you were denied. But that's what it's going to say there. It could just say we're processing it, or it might say record not found. If you're concerned about maybe a turnoff notice, do not wait. Go into the office is my suggestion. I know it can be kind of a pain and difficult to get to sometimes, but if you're in a crunch, your best bet is to physically go to a location and speak to a person. So these are the common issues that we see all the time. Make sure to list everyone in the home. It's how they calculate your benefits. Include all gross income for 18 years and older for the past 30 days based off that date you sign. There are also some extra forms. So let's say 18-year-old is in high school and doesn't have any income. That's okay. But there's like a little form that you have to fill out that goes with your application. And there's about 10 forms. There's a list right here, and you're going to receive that. Make copies of everything before you turn it into OHEP, just in case something gets lost or misplaced. And then check the box for all of the grants because you might be missing out on money. So like I said, I would check number 5. Screen me for all the grants. And then please make sure to include your documents. This is the number one thing that people forget, which is one of their documents. And typically it's that income. So be careful about that. All right, so call your utility, have that conversation with them, apply to OHEP as soon as you can, and then if you need to, look for other funding. So there's a couple that I wanted to talk about. The Fuel Fund of Maryland is one of them. This is a nonprofit that might be able to help pay your gas, electric, or bulk fuel costs. And there are no income guidelines. So if you looked at that early and you're like, dang, I'm over. There are currently no income guidelines for the Fuel Fund of Maryland. Now, this is only for bulk fuel for seniors for the entire state and only during winter months. And they qualify winter months as November through March. Or you could just be a gas and electric customer for BGE, and that's year round. So bulk fuel for seniors, winter months, or gas and electric for BGE year round. And you can apply a couple of different ways. You can call them. I would apply online. But they can only accept these types of things Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 to 11. So if you go online, it's actually quite easy, the application, if you're comfortable with the internet. It's not that hard. It's just a couple of questions. And but if you go on outside of this time frame, the application isn't there. So it might be confusing. So you got to make sure that you're logging on, filling in an application during this time frame. 211 is also a good resource. Now, they do not provide financial assistance, but they do keep a better listing of your small nonprofits, churches. So if you're trying to fill in gaps, this is a good place to call. And they do it by your zip code, which is why I can't list them all. But 211 Maryland is also a good place to take a look at. You can also email them if that's easier than calling for you. And then I kind of just toss this in because this is important. In addition to the 1, 2, 3 utility, OHEP, and then looking for other funding, you might want to consider weatherizing. I know when you're holding a turn off notice in your hand, it is not the priority at that moment. But moving forward, it might be a good investment of time. And there's 2 ways you can do it. One, every single person on this call should absolutely, if they haven't already, call their utility and request a free home energy audit. It's nothing big. I do it. I've done it for my house. You can do it once every 5 years. I've done it. I just had it done again. You'll get things like light bulbs, power strips, water heater, pipe insulation. I got a low flow shower head last week when I did it. And it's something, if they come into your house and they kind of do an assessment and then they, install it for you. Now, this is thanks to something called the Empower program. And it's actually a surcharge on your bill already. So I say free home energy audit. That just means, when you call them, you're not going to be charged anything, but you've already been paying for it. If you look on your bill that you get every month from the utility, there's a line that says Empower. So you might as well take advantage of it. Now, there's a larger program. It's through the Department of Housing and Community Development, DHCD. You can call that 855 number, and that's why there's no income guidelines here because there's several programs with lots of different income guidelines, and all the programs are based on income. But this is the big stuff. So this is if you qualify for insulation, hot water system improvements, replacements, tuning, cleaning. So the bigger things would be through DHCD, the Department of Housing and Community Development. And actually on the OHAB application, you'll see a box that says free energy efficiency services, I think that's what it says. If you check that box, what you're agreeing to is for DHCD to actually reach out to you. So this is actually what that is. But you can also call them separately if you're not going to go that route. But call your utility if nothing else and get a free home energy audit. And with that, I'm going to end. This is our contact information. I know this looks like a general contact info email, and it is, but I'm the one that answers it. But you'll also have my personal email when I email you guys later with, like I said, a copy of what we went over today, as well as the slides. And with that, I think we'll stick around a little bit longer